Welcome to Home Biz Tax Talk. My name is Lysandra Everett. I am the Home Biz Tax Lady, where I help home business owners win the tax game. Home Biz Tax Talk airs Monday through Friday, and when you tune into my show, you're going to hear about topics that are important to the home business community. And today, I want to talk about the stimulus check debacle that happened yesterday. Okay, yesterday, April 15th, the first wave of stimulus checks were distributed. People who were getting stimulus checks by direct deposit, those are going first. Exactly in what order? It's from what I understood, it was by the lowest income people first and making their way up. And for those, then there's also the portal that opened as well, where you can go and update your direct deposit information if you happen to have owed in previous years, 2019 or 2018, and they don't have your direct deposit information. That portal opened up yesterday. You can go to irs.gov, get my payments, irs.gov/get my payments. But if you go to irs.gov, it's right there. All right. Okay. So what happened yesterday? So when the IRS released these stimulus payments, for people who use bank products, those stimulus checks wound up going to those banks. And that really set off a firestorm because tax preparers and tax companies were accused of stealing people's stimulus checks. They were reported on the news as stealing people's stimulus checks, and that was not the case. So I want to explain how these bank products work so that you understand what happened. Because in the beginning of this, when they first talked about these stimulus checks, the tax communities were going, okay, wait a minute. How are these people going to get this money that use these bank products? And we were asking this question early on. And so the IRS was not supposed to distribute that money to those banks, but we see what happened, right? So let's talk about the process. So when you go to a tax company and you get an advance on your refund, or you get your tax fees removed from your refund, okay, what happens is this. The refund is distributed from the IRS to that third-party bank. Then that third-party bank sends the money to your account, and they send the tax people their money, okay? That's how it works. So when those deposits come, the IRS has the third-party bank information, not necessarily your information. So when they push the button, all of that money went to the third-party banks. And the third-party banks were also overwhelmed because they were not trying to handle this either, because they are not legally allowed to handle money outside of tax refunds. And so those banks were really caught in a bad position and they handled it differently. Some of those banks sent the money back to the IRS because they're really not supposed to be handling it anyway. Some banks were mailing checks to those taxpayers that were supposed to receive checks. There were some people that got their direct deposit just fine. So there are even tax preparers that wound up printing checks. So there are a lot of different things that happened with the different banks. There are several different banks that offer these refund transfers or refund advance loans. So a lot of them were handling it differently. But you know who was caught in the crossfire? People like me, tax professionals, because you saw it on the news. You saw where people were rushing tax offices because they were swearing that these tax preparers stole their money. And I get it. It is a lot easier to believe that a tax person stole your money than it is to believe that the IRS actually made a mistake, because there are bad apples out there. Totally get it. There are bad tax professionals out there who have stolen refunds, who have filed fraudulent returns and all of that. But this was not the case. And so I saw where people who have been with the same tax preparer for years all of a sudden didn't trust their tax professionals anymore. And tax professionals had their reputations ruined, all because people do not understand the process. So even though when you file your taxes and you go and pick up your check from that tax professional, or if you go and get your money put on, like a Walmart card or something like that, that is still not coming from the tax professional. They are just the conduit. The checks are coming from the banks. Okay, if you look at the check does not say such and such taxes is going to be coming from a bank. So with this mess that happened yesterday, like I said, a lot of people's reputations were ruined with the way that it was reported, and it was based on a lack of understanding of how these bank products work. Because when the portal opened yesterday, people went to go check the status of their stimulus check deposit. They saw a number that was not their bank account, and all of a sudden somebody stole my money. Okay, the initial response was to go to the tax professional, but when the tax professional tells you, "Hey, I don't have your money," okay, then okay, where's my money? People tried to explain that, yep, this wound up going to this third party bank. People didn't believe that. So what really irks me to my soul is that all of these news reports that were throwing these tax professionals under the bus, they're not out there broadcasting like, hey, we were wrong. They didn't steal your money. Okay. It was an error that your stimulus checks actually went to these third party banks. So that's why I wanted to come on and explain this process. So even in the future, when you go to these tax professionals, and understanding that the IRS distributes to the banks distributes money to the taxpayer and the tax professional. Now, along with that, when you use these bank products and your refund gets held for whatever reason, that means that tax professional didn't get paid either. So it's not just that, oh, you didn't get your money. It's someone has done work and they're not getting paid. And so just like you have that same energy thinking someone stole from you, when your refund gets held, have that same energy to go pay these people for the work that they put in. And honestly, this is why a lot of tax professionals do not use bank products, just for reasons like this. Why you wind up not getting paid for your work because somebody's refund gets held, and then you're out. You might have paid staff, you've got operating costs that you have to maintain, and most people do not even care. Right? They're like, oh, this is a tax business. This person can afford it. That's not a decision for you to make. And so this situation right here where people just went and just like, oh, these people stole my money. It was just so wrong. If you just had a little bit of patience to ask questions before accusing, this would have gone a whole lot better. Our government really has done a great thing with these stimulus checks. Okay, they were really trying to put money in the hands of the people that need it the most and do it as quickly as possible, because they knew rent was coming due. They knew bills had to be paid and all of that stuff. So they were really trying to really get this money out there. This was just a mistake that happened in the moving too fast part. Okay, so now all of these banks are really trying to work together with the IRS to help get you this money as soon as possible without it having to go all the way back to the IRS to be reprocessed, and then you get sent a check, because you know how slow the check process is, right? Okay, for me, it would have been way better if they'd have just sent checks to everybody. I know that people don't want to hear that, but you know what? It is what it is. So it's happened. This is a situation where the tax preparers did not do anything wrong, right? People were blowing up phones from dark really early yesterday morning to, oh my goodness, late last night because of these stimulus payments. I had calls from people that aren't even my clients, okay? In my inbox, on my Facebook, my business page, from YouTube, not even my clients asking me about these stimulus payments. Okay. And I had, colleagues where people were calling and, millions of calls a day. But it was nationwide. It was everybody that was experiencing this because of this mistake. And if your tax professional has been great to you all these years and you let one error cause you to mistrust them and they did nothing wrong, I am so, so sorry for you, because now your tax professional knows exactly how much you don't value them. And we're talking about the good people. I'm not talking about the shady people. I'm talking about the people that really put in work for you. You guys do not understand what is going on in the off season when we are trying to stay up on these tax laws. And as much as these tax laws changed over the last 3 weeks, do you know how much reading and studying we had to do in order to be able to serve you and answer your questions? That's the stuff that you don't pay for. So I just wanted to come on and share that with people because of the way that this was blown so out of proportion. Again, many of my tax professional, my fellow tax professionals' reputations were damaged because of this accusatory tone that, that said that these tax professionals stole their money, that these stimulus checks were deposited into their own bank accounts, these tax professionals' bank accounts. Yeah, that did not happen. That is not what happened. So I encourage you to stop sharing that, because that's not what happened. Okay, this was a mistake on the IRS's part. Even the third party banks were not expecting this. Tax professionals were definitely not expecting this, but we did the best that we could with what we had. And so now you just got to be patient, because we don't have your money. We don't have your money. We don't control the disbursement of your money. We don't have it. Okay, so I hope that sheds a little bit of light on that whole situation. If you are in that situation where your stimulus went to a third party bank, you're just going to have to be patient, calling the tax professional, calling the IRS, on all that. Nobody's answering the phone at the IRS right now anyway. Okay, because they at the house too, dealing with the coronavirus stuff. They at the house too. They had just enough people to try to get this done that are working. Okay, so it is what it is. So again, thank you guys so much for tuning in to Home Biz Tax Talk. Again, we air Monday through Friday, and you can come right here to get your questions answered about your home business taxes. All right, have a great day, and I will see you all next time. Bye.